James Senese, the celebrated Italian saxophonist, composer and singer-songwriter, passed away in a hospital in his beloved home city of Naples on Wednesday at the age of 80. The news has left a deep void not only in the Italian music community, but in the hearts of those who understood what his sound truly meant. A bridge between worlds. An echo of pain and pride and the soul of Naples itself. Senese, whose musical legacy transcended genres and eras, leaves behind an enduring influence that shaped Italian jazz, rock, soul, and funk for more than half a century. His music wasn't just heard, it was felt, lived, and absorbed like the heartbeat of the city that raised him. Senese was admitted to the intensive care unit of Naples Cardarelli Hospital last month after battling severe complications related to a lung infection. Despite receiving intensive care, his condition worsened, and the world lost one of its most passionate and authentic voices in music. The news of his death was first shared by his dear friend and fellow Neapolitan saxophonist, Enzo Avitabile, who expressed his sorrow in a heartfelt post on social media. "There are not enough words for such great pain," Avitabile wrote, his message capturing the collective grief of a musical community in mourning. "Just a thank you for your talent, dedication, passion, and research. You were an example of music and life, a friend for a brother for a friend." His words resonated with musicians and fans across Italy, each of whom knew that Senese's passing marked the end of an era defined by raw honesty, emotional depth, and the unfiltered language of jazz. Naples Mayor Gaetano Manfredi also paid tribute to the late musician, calling him an extraordinary artist, a true son of Naples, passionate and steeped in influences. His statement echoed the sentiments of an entire city that had long considered James Senese one of its cultural treasures. "His saxophone will resonate forever," the mayor added, and for many Neapolitans, those words felt literal, because Senese's sound was the sound of Naples itself, a blend of suffering, resilience, and unyielding hope. His instrument had the power to cry and celebrate at once, to reflect the contradictions of a city that, much like its greatest son, was always dancing on the edge between tragedy and joy. Gaetano James Senese was born in Naples on January 6, 1945, during the final months of World War II. His life began in a time of turmoil, in a city still bearing the scars of conflict and occupation. He was the son of Anna Senese, a Neapolitan woman, and James Smith, an African-American soldier who had been stationed in southern Italy during the war. That unique blend of cultures, Italian and American, European and African, would come to define him. It was in his blood, in his rhythm, and in his voice. His mother raised him alone in the working-class neighborhood of Miano after his father returned to the United States and never came back. For James, that absence was both a wound and a source of strength. In many interviews, he spoke of how he carried his father's absence inside him, not as bitterness, but as music. It gave him the blues before he even knew what the blues were. Growing up as a biracial child in post-war Naples was not easy. Italy in the 1940s and 1950s was still a deeply conservative and homogeneous society, and children like James, the sons and daughters of African-American soldiers and Italian women, were often subject to discrimination and isolation. But where others saw difference, James found rhythm. His skin tone, his curly hair, and his unique features made him stand out, but they also connected him to something larger, to the legacy of jazz, to the voices of Black musicians across the ocean, to the improvisational language of freedom. It was as if his identity itself was music waiting to be played. He began playing the saxophone at the age of 12, drawn to the instrument by instinct more than instruction. The saxophone became his voice, his escape, his confession. He would later say that when words failed him, the saxophone spoke for him. In the narrow streets of Miano, where poverty and joy coexisted like old friends, the sound of young James practicing his scales could often be heard echoing through the alleyways. Those early years were difficult. His family had little money, and opportunities were scarce. But music was his salvation. He studied the greats, absorbing the sounds of John Coltrane, Charlie Parker, and Cannonball Adderley. But even then, he knew that he didn't want to copy anyone. He wanted to take that language and make it his own, to give it a Neapolitan soul. Senese made his professional debut in the 1960s with the rhythm and blues band The Showmen, which later evolved into Showmen 2. The group was one of the first in Italy to experiment with the sounds of American R&B and soul, blending them with Italian lyrics and local influences. It was a time of cultural revolution, and James found himself at the heart of it. The band quickly gained popularity, not only for their infectious rhythms but for their energy, an energy that came straight from Senese's saxophone, which seemed to cry, laugh, and shout all at once. His performances were raw and alive, filled with a kind of passion that was impossible to fake. In 1974, Senese took a creative leap that would forever cement his place in Italian music history. Along with drummer Franco Del Prete, he co-founded the jazz-rock fusion group Napoli Centrale, a band that became the beating heart of what came to be known as the Neapolitan Power Movement. This movement was more than just a musical trend. It was a cultural awakening, a statement of identity for southern Italy. Naples, long viewed by northern Italians as chaotic and impoverished, suddenly had a sound that demanded respect. The music of Napoli Centrale was bold, rebellious, and deeply emotional. It fused the complex rhythms of jazz with the soulful storytelling of Neapolitan folk music and the political consciousness of the 1970s. Senese's lyrics often dealt with the struggles of ordinary people, the workers, the poor, the dreamers of the South, and his saxophone became their voice. Through his music, he gave dignity to those who had long been overlooked. His tone was not polished or restrained. It was honest, almost defiant. Critics and audiences alike were struck by his ability to translate the spirit of Naples into sound, its beauty and decay, its humor and sorrow. Songs like Campagna and N'Gazzate Nere became anthems of pride and resistance. The band's self-titled album Napoli Centrale remains one of the cornerstones of Italian jazz rock to this day. After Napoli Centrale disbanded in 1978, Senese did not slow down. Instead, he began a long and fruitful collaboration with Pino Daniele, another towering figure of Neapolitan music. Together, they created a sound that combined the grit of the streets with the sophistication of jazz, the passion of blues with the melancholy of southern Italy. Senese's saxophone became one of the most distinctive elements in Daniele's music, and their partnership defined an entire generation of Italian music lovers. When Daniele passed away in 2015, Senese described it as losing a brother. Their bond went beyond collaboration. It was family, rooted in a shared love for Naples and a shared belief that music could speak where words could not. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, James Senese pursued a solo career that further showcased his versatility. His first solo album, released in 1983, marked the beginning of a new chapter. His albums, Napoli Centrale, Matanza, and Hey James among them, revealed an artist constantly evolving yet always faithful to his roots. His compositions were complex yet emotionally accessible, filled with warmth, groove, and a spiritual depth that reflected his inner world. He was never interested in chasing fame for its own sake. For him, music was a calling. Each note he played seemed to carry a lifetime of experience, the loneliness of his youth, the laughter of the streets, the memories of lost friends, and the endless love for his city.